Hello game fans and welcome to another interview at Game Anglia, and right now I'm here with Gareth from Ubisoft. He has been here to not only talk to all of the students and to all the people that have come to see all the talks, but he's also taken time out of his schedule to come and talk to me under these lights in this interview room. Thank you very much for taking the time.
No problem.
And so first of all, I wanted to talk a little bit about you in terms of, I know you started life as a games tester at Interplay, and then now you're game director at Ubisoft. Mm-hmm. So your journey has been a colourful roller coaster. So
it has indeed, yeah.
I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about it.
I would like to say I've been incredibly lucky, I would say. I mean, hard work as well, but really my initial breakthrough in the video games industry, even as a tester, was luck. My then moving on to becoming an artist as well at Rare was also pretty much luck. But when given these opportunities, when you have these lucky breaks, you really have to maximize on them, make the most of it. And that really boils down to hard work, passion, dedication. I mean, there's nothing to replaces these, in terms of your personal progression and your career progression.
Sure. And so when you started as a game tester back in the day,
mm-hmm.
Did you know back then that you wanted to do more in games, that you wanted to be
I wanted to be an
involved?
artist. This was my original drive to get into games. I mean, I knew growing up I was very good at art. It was the thing that everybody, praised me for. It was the thing I excelled at school. And it was kind of the thing I wanted to do, because you naturally gravitate towards the things you're good at.
Sure.
But there's not much opportunity to be an artist, really, you're not going to become the next Picasso or something like that. So I thought video games seemed to be an emerging market. There was a space for artists there, but I didn't know how to break into that. And really there was nobody who could give me advice either. There was no career counselling at school that could give me advice on how to get into the games industry. And I was really feeling stuck. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. And I really honestly don't know how I would have done it without a lucky break. I mean, I think I just persisted that long and hassled enough people that eventually something had to give.
And well, it seemed to have worked, because then you've gone from game testing, gone to level design, you've gone
mm-hmm.
to assets design. So were these all steps that you thought, this is going to get me where I want to be? And
yeah, kind of. I mean, actually, when I got my job as an artist at Rare, I was super happy, because Rare were renowned for the quality of their art.
Visuals.
And I was working with people who had been training to do this, been to proper art schools, and I didn't have any of this experience. And it was like a dream come true. And then I realized, whilst doing the job, that actually the passion wasn't for art, it was for video games. And then this kind of led me naturally into other areas. I mean, it wasn't really it's not like I sat down and said, okay, I don't want to be an artist anymore, I want to be a designer.
Yeah.
I started making levels for Perfect Dark, like multiplayer levels, because the artists actually built the levels then. There was no level designers that did design the levels.
Clubbed in.
Yeah, and what's really interesting actually is we're kind of going back to that notion now. On our teams in Ubisoft, we have a very agile Scrum approach. So, okay, the programmers aren't doing art, but we form very small little units where everybody is kind of pitching in and helping each other, and it kind of feels to me a bit more like that old school development that we used to do. So I'm really at home with it.
So it's more like you have a goal and who can do what to make that goal.
And it's really nice. And okay, so like I say, the programmer's not going to do art, but everybody's going to push each other and motivate each other, and you feel like a small team working on a bigger project, which is really nice.
But still, I mean, you're saying the programmers might chip in and say, well, I can do this to make the lights do this, or I can make the effects do this, and that changes the look of the game.
Yeah, and the whole point of Agile is, to iterate every day, even on your processes. It's not just to iterate on the game, it's to iterate on the way you work and the way you create stuff. So maybe the programmer says to the artist, oh, I notice you're doing this 10 times a day, and it's taking you 2 hours. I've got a little batch file here that's gonna sort that out for you.
Absolutely. Oh, okay. Oh, that's exciting. So you mentioned Rare there and being an artist at Rare. So is there any particular assets that you created that you're particularly proud of?
Because I was a level artist, I would say the multiplayer levels in Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
I mean, this was the first time for me something that I'd made was out there and available for the public. You know?
And it's not a small game either. That's a massive game.
It was a massive game, yeah.
I mean,
so, and to have my name in the credits for me, like my mum printed out like a screenshot of the credits and she has it on her wall and she was super proud. So yeah, it was a really big moment.
Yeah, I bet, because I mean, after GoldenEye, Perfect Dark was just it. You know, everyone was waiting so much, and then the multiplayer, everyone just dived in because they just wanted more and more. So it got a really good reception.
I have so many people tell me they say to me, you have no idea how many hours of my life and how many like university grades I probably dropped because of GoldenEye and Perfect Dark.
So do you think it's important for indie game developers to experience AAA life and to start work maybe in a AAA studio before venturing out on their own?
I think certainly it helps to have that umbrella, you know, the security. You're in a group of people who have been through the process many times. They're going to teach you, they're going to help you evolve. And I think in that sense, yes, but I also think they're two very different jobs. And I'm not sure some people really take to that kind of environment because maybe they are just, you know, pure creative craziness. They want to work on their thing. They don't want the constraints of a bigger project or a bigger team. So I think it's a very personal thing.
Sure.
It really depends on your character, on what it is. For me, I love working in a big team. I really do. I love working in a team that's multicultural, multinational. I really like we have to communicate all the time with people in Canada, with people in France. This is really nice when you see so many different approaches to work, to their cultural take on work.
Sure.
It's very interesting.
Excellent. And so a lot of indie developers, the students that are going to come out of the game development course and game design course here at Suffolk University are going to have that choice. They're going to sort of say, right, where do I want to go? Do I want to try and put out my first game, or do I want to apply to the EAs, the Ubisofts of this world? Do you think they could take something away from maybe the software and the team building? Because I mean, you mentioned sort of Scrum and things like that. So I mean, that organisation side.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is where you're really going to learn. You're going to learn the processes of what it takes to make these cogs turn. Because if you're making a big game, you have to have very good processes. You can't rely on luck or bad communication. Everything has to be done very well. One mistake, one misstep is costing a lot of money. For the company. So you really do have to have very good processes, and this is one of the only places you're going to learn those. Other than going through the process yourself, which is going to be a very painful exercise,
You're
I
going to
guess.
learn lessons the hard way.
The really hard way. But I also think it's where your passions lie. If what you want to do is make your own game, if that's really what you want to do, then I think go for it all out. Go indie, go mobile.
Yeah.
Really focus on what it is that drives you, because at the end of the day, it's a job. You have to do it every day.
Sure.
You have to be there, and if you're not enjoying it, something is wrong for sure. I mean, I wake up every morning and I'm excited to go to work. I don't wake up and think, oh God, another day grinding away on a huge project. I wake up and I think, okay, so those things I thought of last night, yes, we need to resolve those, and we'll do that, and have an energy for it still. So.
Yeah, I'm making games.
Yeah, I mean,
Watch Dogs 2 is about to release.
All you have to do is look at the list of other things you could be doing, and it's like, okay, I'm good. I'm happy here.
So you've worked on a ton of games, but what is the most challenging game you worked on, and why?
The most challenging game I worked on, I would say, was a game I worked on at Rare called Fear, which was never released. And this is the reason it was the most challenging game I worked on. It was after Perfect Dark. We started a in-house project. It was, obviously we were part owned by Nintendo.
Sure.
So it was Nintendo that wanted this game. They wanted an adult game. And this was, completely unusual for Nintendo.
Yeah.
And we went into it and we basically made a Resident Evil clone, but a full 3D Resident Evil clone. So you were third person, you were controlling the character fully, all the scenes were fully rendered in 3D. We had limb decapitation, limb severing, like on the shotgun blast, you could blow legs off and the zombies would hobble on one leg. I actually, small anecdote, but I actually did all of the motion capture for the zombies because I was the only person who would volunteer to do it. And the first day we did it, we went into a motion capture studio, and I would stand there and someone would come up and like push me where the impact was supposed to happen, and we watched the data back the next day, and everyone was like, oh, it's not like enough, is it? We need more.
So shot.
So the next day we went in, and they said, look, we've had an idea, we're not sure if you're up for it, but we would like to give it a try. And they tied ropes around different bits of my body, and then a couple of people would just yank the rope to get a real like reaction from it. And it worked really well. And then this kind of escalated into from arms and legs to it being around my torso, and having like 5 people drag me through the air and land on a crash mat. And the motion capture was awesome. But like for 3 days we did this, and afterwards I had rope burns, I had bruises everywhere. It looked like I'd been kidnapped and tortured.
Yeah. You can add stuntman to your CV.
Yeah, exactly. But the game was progressing really, really well. The team was super enthusiastic, and one morning we came in, bear in mind the game was like 80% complete. We came in one morning, and a very sad-looking lead designer, and he said, we need to talk. He said, Nintendo have been in touch, and they don't want an adult game anymore. Yeah. And this was like devastating. You know, for 2 years of my life I've been working on this game. I'd literally shed blood for this game.
It's like getting out of a bad relationship though, you know, it's just you feel broken.
Yeah, exactly. And the really bad thing about it was a year later, or 2 years later, Nintendo actually had an adult game made for the N64, which was, I always forget the name, maybe deliberately.
Yeah. Blocked from your mind.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was one of the hardest things I dealt with in video games. I'm not, but actually it was probably one of the greatest lessons about attachment I learned as well in video games, is that you can't get attached to your work, because things are going to evolve, things are going to change, and I mean that's the harshest example.
Yeah.
But even on a day-to-day basis, being a game director, when I envisage something that I think is going to be in the game, and then that goes through the process and goes down to a game designer, and then it's prototyped, and then it comes back up, and I'm sat there reviewing it, I think, God, that's nothing like what I expected. You really have to separate yourself from your own ego and say, okay, it's not what I expected, but is it better?
Yeah.
You know, and often it is, because these people have really been focused on that idea,
yeah,
rather than just the conceptual idea that you had. So I find that difficult sometimes to
take on board.
Just not touch things and just think, okay, it's good. They did a very good job. It's not quite what you're imagining, but it's maybe better. So good.
It's good for the team as well, is because they feel they're more involved and they're committing more
exactly.
Of their ideas to it.
I don't think my job as game director should be directive. It's a strange title, because you shouldn't be there just saying to people it has to be like this.
My vision only.
Yeah. And actually, what I see that I'm directing is the quality, not the content itself. You know, so it's my job to make sure the quality of what they do is right.
Okay.
What that idea is, that's more in the ownership of the pod that's working on it.
Right, so you said at the beginning that a lot of luck helped you throughout your career, and so the kind of question I've been closing with in these interviews is, if you could go back in time and see your younger self just as he's about to get into game testing, what would you advise the young you to do?
Wow.
In game development?
Hustle all those people for sooner. You know,
don't drag your heels.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, yes, there was luck involved, but it's really, you make your own luck. You know, you make these opportunities that if you sit around and wait, maybe something will happen. But really, you need to push for those things to happen. I mean, I'm sure there's more I could have done, and I'm sure that's something every one of us can say about everything we've done. But really, I don't know, I was a teenager, I was, enjoying life, and maybe I could have doubled down and focused a bit more on the things that would have helped me in my career. So I would say maybe invest more in myself. That's what I would have done from an earlier age. I was a bit slow with picking this up, and maybe I could be further ahead now with where I am if I'd have focused more at the beginning.
Sure.
So again, it comes back to hard work, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that even still, you're still happy to wake up in the morning and you're making some of the biggest games in the world. So it's just.
I work on Assassin's Creed. Like for me, it's like a bucket list tick. Like honestly, when they told me, it's so funny. Like I don't know if when you work in a corporation you dread HR. I don't know if anyone's experienced this, but when you get that message, can we speak to you for 5 minutes? Feel like your heart's going, think, oh God, and you're racking, like, what have I done? It's like when your mum says, like, I need to talk to you about something, and you're like, oh God, what have I done? And I went down to this meeting thinking, what have I done wrong? I don't do things wrong. I'm pretty good at what I do. And they said, oh, we'd like to talk to you. We have an opportunity for you, and we think you'd be interested. And I was thinking, what opportunity? I'm enjoying what I'm doing. There can't be anything else that they're going to offer me. And they said, we'd really like you to take a role on Assassin's Creed. And I was like, huh? Sorry? I was like, yeah. And they were like, you don't think about no, I'm good. What am I doing? When can I start? You know? So yeah, it's been a dream come true. And actually, it's been so nice to me to have an impact on a brand that I have such passion for. Sure. I mean, even in Origins now, when I see press talking about the game and I'm reading all the articles, I read things and I think, oh, that was me, you know, like, so a little bit of pride, you know, going on. You think, they're small things, but if people are noticing them and they're writing about them, they obviously had an impact, you know, and yeah, it's very, very rewarding.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck in your new role, because it's a very exciting one. And thank you again for talking at the Game Anglia and for taking the interview as well. And if this video has been useful, then please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and we'll be back with another interview very soon.